everybody, my name is Amanda, and thank you for watching Amanda's Table. Today we're going to be making a croquembouche, which is a traditional French pastry, mostly served at weddings, but for our purpose, we're going to be making it for our Valentine's Day table. We're going to start off today with our pâte à choux cream puff. What the actual croquembouche is basically has a Christmas tree shape and surrounded with cream puffs, filled with pastry cream, drizzled with caramel, so perfect for your loved ones, your lover, your Tinder date, whatever you want to do for your Valentine's Day table. Very impressive, but very easy to do. So let's get started. Okay, for our cream puff ingredients, it's not that many. We have a half of a cup of water. We have a half a cup of whole milk, a stick of butter, a whole cup and a quarter cup of all-purpose flour, 5 eggs, which comes in at the end, a teaspoon of sugar, and a teaspoon of kosher salt. And that is it. Okay, so we're going to start off by pouring our half a cup of water over a medium flame. We are going to add our half a cup of milk. We've got our teaspoon of sugar. We've got our teaspoon of kosher salt. And we're going to take our stick of butter, go ahead and add that into there. And we're going to bring this up to a simmer before we add our all-purpose flour. Okay, so now we have a really nice simmer of our wet ingredients. We are going to turn the flame off at this point, and we are going to add all of our all-purpose flour. Let's get it in all in there. And then it's going to turn into a nice ball of dough in just a second here. I want to get all that flour incorporated. See how it's coming together now? Let's get all those little specks of flour worked in there. Alright. And then from here, we're going to add our eggs. We're going to move this over to our mixer, which is going to incorporate those eggs for us. Alright, perfect. Let's move over to the mixer. Okay, so we've transferred our ball of dough into the KitchenAid mixer. We're going to go ahead and get this started in just a second. We're going to be adding our 5 eggs, but we want to add them slowly. Add each one individually and let it mix. You're going to see the ball of dough getting really glossy with each one, and then you'll see it start coming back together. So let's get started on that. I'm going to turn this on. It might be a little bit loud, but let's get this going. So I'll go ahead and crack this first egg in there. And hopefully you can see it's really wet in there. The dough kind of separates a little bit, but you're going to see in a minute that it's going to start pulling back together. See, it looks kind of sticking to the sides right now. Alright, so this is a good time. You can start adding that second egg, and you're going to see the process start over again where it's going to get kind of glossy, really shiny, kind of separated a little bit. See how it separates? It's okay. Let it do its thing. We're going to scrape the sides after this next one. See how it's getting kind of sticky, like less glossy, more back to its original kind of shape and feel. Okay, we're going to add this third one. After the third one, we'll go ahead and scrape the sides, make sure everything gets incorporated really well. That looks really good. Yep, definitely want to start scraping the sides after this one. Okay, cool. So I'm going to stop it for a second. Just push it down. It doesn't have to be crazy perfect. Just get all that goodness off the sides. Get it off the little blade if you can. Perfect. Put that back up. Get that started again. Add our 4th egg. Okay, again, it's gonna kind of separate. You can also do this by hand. I'd recommend maybe, if you're doing it by hand, maybe using a wooden spatula. I've done that in the past before I had a KitchenAid mixer. This just makes it easier for me since I have one. But if you don't have one, it's more than fine. You're just going to get a nice arm workout with those because you do want to keep mixing it until each time. See how it's like starting to get like real elasticy? Alright, we're going to add in our last egg here. Adding eggs, and so we're just waiting for that nice consistency in the end. It looks really good. And then from here, the next thing we'll do is put it into our pastry bag and pipe it out onto a sheet tray. For this demonstration, we're going to use a Silpat. But if you don't have a Silpat, you can use parchment paper, which you can just get at any grocery store. The Silpat I got off of Amazon. It's the cheapest one that I've found. It was like $5 for a Silpat, which is pretty good. In other places they might be like $15, but I really enjoy using it just because it has even baking. And that is it. We are good. This is, let me show you, let me pull this down and kind of show you the consistency of the batter. That is perfect. All right. Okay, everybody, we have our batter. Nice, perfect consistency. We're about to put it into our pastry bag. Here's our pastry bag. You can use whatever pastry bag that you want. I really like these. They're reusable. I've had this one for years. I'm using this circle tip. It's a 1A. You don't have to use this tip. You can use whatever tip that you want. I use these. You can just cut off a piping bag tip if it's like a plastic throwaway one and just put this part on there. That is fine. I like these because they're a little bit more stable, and if I decide in the middle of it I want to change out the tip, I can do that at any time because I just screw this off. So, but for this one, we're going to just screw this back on, and we'll go ahead and get our batter in there. So I folded over the edges of the pastry bag like this. That's way when you're holding it with your left hand, you can fill with your right hand, and it's not going to get all over your hands. It's not going to get over the top of the pastry bag. So we'll go in there. So I'm going to scoop some of this up and just start getting it in there. See how I just kind of wipe it off the side of the pastry bag. I'm going to get as much in there as possible. Alright. Let's put that to the side. So we're going to pull now up the sides and scrape all of this dough. Try not to get any air pockets in there. See how I scraped it? And then we're going to pinch it. Basically, oops, sorry, a little dab there on the table. We're going to pinch it and twist, right? So it's nice and tight. Now you're holding the pastry bag with your dominant hand because you're going to control the bag in this position right here. Really, you're just guiding your your hand is guiding the tip with your non-dominant hand, okay? So then we're gonna take our tray that we had set up with our seal pat. This is the seal pat that I was talking about. This is quite nice to have, but again, if you don't have it, just use a parchment paper, which you can get at the grocery store. All right, and so then again, I'm just going to squeeze. Then right at the end, I'm gonna do a circular motion and squeeze, circular motion, so that we don't get those little tips that come out. So you really got to have that nice golden brown color. That's what's going to tell you when it's done. All right, we're going to go ahead and get this into the oven now. Okay, we're going to take our cream puffs out of the oven. It's been about 50 minutes in there, but they're nice and golden brown now. Nice, perfect color. There you go. Hi everybody, now that we have our cream puffs made, we are going to do the part 2, and we are going to make pastry cream to fill them. So we're going to start off with our 2 cups of milk. We're going to cut, I've got already one bean, a vanilla bean, cleared out and sitting in the milk already, but we're going to do another one in just a second. Then we have a 1/3 of a cup of sugar. We have 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. We have only a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. That's going to go into our 6 egg yolks in a second. And then later on, we're going to finish up with 3 tablespoons of butter cubed. Right here, one bean I already put in there. We're just going to slice this bean all the way down the center like that. And then it's like a sand mixture, consistency I should say. That's in there. We're going to scrape it off, see? We're going to scrape it into that milk. So it kind of sits in there. And scrape it all the way down. Get all of that, the vanilla bean out of that bean as much as possible. However, we are going to stick that bean right into the milk as well, because we do not want to waste any of this Madagascar bourbon vanilla, which you can get at the grocery store. They're usually pretty expensive. I will buy mine online to get it a little bit cheaper, but you can definitely get it in any store, any grocery store. And then we're going to stick that whole bean in there. And then, okay, we have our 6 egg yolks. We're going to add our 1/3 cup of sugar in with that. Our 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. And our 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. Let's get that all in there. Let's see if I can get that. Okay, perfect. Because it's going to thicken it later. We're going to just make this nice. Stir it around until it becomes like a paste almost. Get all that cornstarch in there. It's kind of gritty. We want to get it all incorporated though. Kind of get that sugar dissolved a little bit. Get all that cornstarch off the side. It'll be a little bit messy, but that's okay because we're going to add our milk mixture in just a second. Okay? Perfect. Great. Okay, so we have our 2 cups of milk with our 2 vanilla beans in there. We're going to go ahead and pour it into our sauce pot. We're going to get all that vanilla bean in there. And we are going to let it get nice and hot. We don't want it to boil, but we're going to get it just about to that simmer stage. Okay, so at this point, we're almost at that boil, just before the boil, I should say. we're going to fish out these vanilla beans here. Put them off to the side. There was one. We have a second one here. Alright, try not to burn myself. Alright, so at this point, I'm going to put my spatula down a little bit. I'm going to take a ladle, and I'm going to ladle this mixture into the egg mixture just a little bit at a time. We don't want it to cook the eggs quite yet. We're going to, just a little by little, put that warm milk into the eggs. Okay, we're gonna get a little bit more here. Again, you don't want chunks of cooked egg in there, so that's why we do it just a little bit at a time, slowly. It will get watery. It's not going to thicken until we get it back onto the stove and turn the heat back on. Okay, we'll probably do one more ladle. Yeah. Okay. Nice. Okay, in just a second, we're going to turn back on the flame here on a medium flame, get this back in the pan, and then just like, you'll see it start thickening up. So I'll take my ladle out. All right, let me put my flame back on here, pour this back in. Get all that egg out of there. Right. I'm gonna turn it down just a little bit, so just a little less than medium. It's gonna take a few minutes. You're gonna start to see it thicken, and then right as it gets thick, we're gonna turn off the flame, and we're gonna end up adding these nice little butter cubes right at the end. All right, now we're just gonna let it get warm again and get thick. Okay, so it's been about 2, maybe 3 minutes, but see how it's thickened up? And all that vanilla has kind of spread around in there. Ooh, that's gonna be so good. This is what really gives that cream puff the rich flavor. All right, so we're good. We're starting to get thick in the middle, so I'm gonna turn off the heat here. All right, so I'm gonna start adding my butter cubes just a little bit at a time, and letting that heat kind of melt them. Oh, you see all that vanilla being in there? That's my favorite part, is the vanilla. I could just be a little girl in the corner eating vanilla. All right, let's add a little bit more. Get all melted, and we got about one more time before all that butter gets melted. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put it through a sieve, or just in case we got any egg pieces that coagulated. We don't want a chunk of egg in our pastry cream there. We put it through a sifter. And then I'll show you how to wrap it up, just because we don't want any air to get to it, otherwise you will get like a skim or a skin on the top, and we really don't want that. We're going to refrigerate this mixture at the very minimum 3 hours, but you can actually refrigerate it up to 3 days. Okay, so it's ready to come off the stovetop now, and we're going to run it through the sieve. Okay, so we've got a little sieve here, got a bowl that's going to catch it all at the bottom. Let's take our mixture, pour that in just a little bit at a time. Alright, so we don't make a mess here. Take a little baby spatula, kind of just work it through. That's it. Okay, so we have all of that pastry cream that came out of that. We put it through the sieve. Now we're going to put it in plastic and get it refrigerated. So we just need a little piece. It's going to go right over. And we're going to press it down because we want it to touch the top of that pastry cream. Very important part, otherwise you're going to have to take off the skin of it. So you really want to kind of get it sealed around there. That's it. It goes into the refrigerator. Let it cool for 3 hours at least, if not a couple days. And then it's going to be ready to fill those pastry cream puffs. All right, everybody, we are going to start on our caramel. All it's going to take is a cup of sugar. And this next part you don't have to do yourself. I wanted to add a little bit of color to our caramel, so I'm going to do pink for our Valentine's Day Croquembouche. So at this time, I'll turn on the flame. Get it lit here. There we go. Okay, gonna put it on a medium heat. And I'm just going to take this cup of sugar, put it in the pan, kind of just even it out a little bit in the pan so it's like a nice little blanket on the bottom. And that's it. We're going to leave it. Don't touch it. We're going to leave it for a few minutes. And you'll see it'll start to turn color. It'll turn that caramel color. Okay, so we got our sugar starting to brown. I can go ahead at this point and start stirring it a little bit. Get that sugar worked in. We're gonna let it go just a little bit longer. Get all of that sugar melted. See how it's starting to come together there? Perfect. Okay, so I have the caramel on low at this point. I'm going to add a little bit of the pink flavor, see if we can get that to come out onto the caramel that we drizzle. I've never done this before, but we're going to try it out, see if it works. So I'll just put a few dots. It's going to sizzle, because anytime you add liquid to that, and we're going to just stir that around, and that should be ready. And we're going to pour some of this caramel over our cream puffs. Okay, so I tried spooning the caramel on this one, and it didn't quite come out the way I wanted it. So I started dipping the tops. Now you just have to be really careful with this because you can burn your fingers. So I'm taking it, grabbing it on all sides, kind of just tilting the pan a little bit. I don't want to go down to my fingers, obviously. And then put it down on the paper. And then we're going to let that dry and get a little bit hard. And then we're going to fill the bottom, like through the bottoms of these, the pastry cream. Okay, so we're taking the cream puff. We're going to just dip it into the caramel. Be careful. This is a very dangerous part. You can actually burn yourself pretty good with hot sugar. Let's see how that nice... It actually gives us a red tinge to the caramel. Okay, everybody, so now we are going to fill our cream puffs with that pastry cream that we made earlier. So we have that ready to go. This tip, you don't have to use this tip. This is the one I'll use for today. It's number 230, and this is just a disposable bag. I cut the tip off, put one of those plastic attachments to it, and what I'll do is I'll put it into, it can be any cup, kind of push it over the side of it, and this is going to help me not make a big fat mess, really. And I'm going to, now I can use two hands, and I will just put that filling in our bag. Okay, so we have our cream puff that we dipped in caramel, and we have our pastry cream with our tip. We're just going to poke a hole in the bottom of it, and then we're squeeze, and you can't really tell, but it is filling up the inside of the cream puff. And that is it. Put that back down to rest. Fill all these up. Okay, so we have our caramel, and what I've taken is just a styrofoam cone and wrapped it in parchment paper, and all we're simply doing is dipping our cream puff into the caramel and going to attach it to the form. And we're going to keep going around and around until the whole thing is filled. Sugar decorations to decorate our croquembouche. What I've done is I've taken a little bit of parchment paper here and I've sprayed it with just some Pam original canola oil blend spray so it just won't stick. And we've let our caramel cool just a little bit. It's thick. It's going to cover this fork pretty well. And this one's pretty easy. You just get messy a little bit with we're going to let it stream off a little bit. And we're just going to shake the fork and get a little wild on the paper. And splatter it. We're going to go in one direction, and then we're going to go in the other direction. And we'll cut these in little pieces, and then we'll attach them to our croquembouche. Alright, so we've got some of our pieces that we made for decorations. I'm just going to break off it basically the shape that I want. And then I will use a little bit of caramel to be my glitter. Until it hardens. And we'll put these all over. They look really pretty.